Ooh.
There we go. Okay. Hey, y'all. How you doing? You're welcome back. This is my friend Brian. Brian, tell us who you are. Like, where we go. Like, and then we'll talk about all that stuff, how we met, all those things. And ladies and gentlemen, the man, the legend, Brian, not related to Luke Perry. Perry.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm Brian Perry. I live in Orleans, and which is a suburb of Ottawa. It's where Shawn grew up. Me and him running these streets back in the day, and we're still running the streets, just in different cities now. So that's good.
I say we expanded.
Yeah. We're moving into different cities. That's all it is.
That's it. Still running these streets. So Brian, like, tell me about where you start? Where did you start? Where did you and how did you come to Ottawa? Because were you always living in Ottawa?
No, I was born in Calgary, Alberta.
What did you leave in those oil-rich lands for?
I don't know, man. I got to talk to my parents about that.
Okay.
So, yeah. I guess the story goes is my dad is a bricklayer, and in the early 80s there was no work in Ottawa, so he moved out west because there's a big boom happening out west.
Okay.
And met my mother. My dad is French Canadian. My mom is obviously English, and knows no limitations, so the language barrier didn't hold them back very long. And they got married in 81. And next thing you know, in 82, I was born, and looks like work kind of dried up in 84, 85, I think it was. And next thing you know, we're back home here in Ottawa. So I've been in Ottawa since I was 2 years old, but I still call it West home and love to go visit all my cousins and my family out there. So it's good.
Okay. You son of a bricklayer. Doesn't sound like a good song, from the son of a preacher man, but now you're son of a bricklayer.
No, it doesn't go.
No, it doesn't
go. No.
Okay, so did your dad continue to do bricklaying in Ottawa?
Absolutely. Guy, he started his own company probably about 10, 11 years ago.
Okay, made the leap.
So he bounced out of his old company, started his own company. Has been rather successful. Obviously, right now, things are a little bit slow, but they still working. They still got a few guys working, so they're doing what they got to do to survive.
You still got guys working.
Yeah.
I thought you guys are like on full lockdown, like the world is ending over there. Because it's ending where we are right now.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I don't know. I'm wholehearted with let's stop this before it gets out of hand kind of deal. But like, if we're gonna stop it, let's stop everything. Just put it to rest and deal with it and move on with life.
Well, the thing with them is that like this thing is already here, so we have to. It's weird. It's a weird deal. Like the way I'm like, we're stuck between like here's this disease. It's smashing everybody. It's like chickenpox, though. You have to give it to everybody, otherwise it just gets worse.
Yeah.
So you have to and they're just trying to basically what they're saying is we want to give it to everybody. So just wait your turn, and you'll have your devastating or non-devastating coronavirus episode. But at least we may have a bed for you if you need it, right? Because some people have already gone through it, and it's been like they had a fever for a day. Other people, well, they didn't live to tell the tale.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's always been about these. What's it? Anybody with a pre-existing condition, you're in a big trouble.
Absolutely. And those are the people we feel for, that's the people that we want to make these sacrifices for, it's just one of those things that we got to do as we get together and stick together. And, my wife and I got let go was it two Mondays ago? So I've been off work for 2 weeks. My wife has the fortunate job of working for the government, so she's still working. So she works every day from home, but we haven't left the house really other than first thing in the morning to go pick up a few groceries and out the door, and that's back home, and that's that, So
yeah. Respect off to you, because a lot of people don't even understand that process.
No.
I mean, but they're having a big issue with all those people coming back from down south. They're not even having issues with people here are starting to see okay, you know what, 1 times 1 or so 1 plus 1 is 1, but then 2 times 2 is 4. And you just extrapolate how fast that thing goes, and it's so contagious because it's a variant of a coronavirus we already that's already around. But the good news is we have heard that not that we want to make this a whole podcast about coronavirus, so we'll get off that topic pretty shortly. Just to say that it is a novelty strain, So usually what happens with novelty strains is it hits once in an episode. It could be 1 or 2, 3 waves or whatever, but then it's done. It doesn't come back because we dealt with it.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
Shout out to all the frontline workers, man. Shout out to them. We lift them up in prayer and just asking, that they have wisdom and grace and strength and, all that good stuff. So shout out to all those people that are just fighting this thing on the front lines.
Good. Hey, last question about it. Like where you guys are right now, do your grocery store clerks have glass in front of them?
You know what? They do. I went out this morning. I went to Farm Boy. These guys are prepared, man. Like they got people at the front and they got their spray bottles and their masks and their gloves on and they're wiping down every basket. I mean, top to bottom of the basket, man, not just the handles. They're wiping everything down all over in the store. They have like it marked on the floor, like 6 feet to 6 feet to 6 feet to 6 feet. They've had the plexiglass up, man. I don't know. It's good. I guess that's what the measures they got to take to protect their employees. And then the debit machines have already moved. Like some people are a lot quicker with this than other people, You go to other grocery stores and they're just like, yeah, whatever, figure it out.
You still have people who deny, right? And they want to be the people that say, so the risk that they're taking essentially is that if they're so lazy that they hope that this thing's not going to touch them.
Yeah.
Now, the worst case scenario for us is we just stayed at home for 4 weeks.
Yep.
That's the worst case scenario for us. And I'll be okay.
Yep.
Really? I'm going to do that for 4 weeks? Come on, bud. People are stupid. And then I understand for non-for-profits and things like that, you got to figure out, it's all different now, right? It's all different. But
man, changing every day.
It's literally changing minute by minute, and we're looking. People are like, "I'm not making a long-term plan," but now people are making long-term plans already because you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to figure out what you're going to do.
I mean, think about it. Like a lot of churches, like Easter time is one of the times that they ramp things up. Man, they put their budget behind it. They put their creativity behind it. Their volunteers are on full force. And you got your specials, you got your message, you got your illustrations, you got, some people are doing mailers, handing those out and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And here we are going, we don't even think we're going to be able to meet at the church. We're going to have to go online,
And what does that look like,
Exactly.
Wait, I was in a meeting today, another Zoom meeting. They seem to be happening often now. But that one wasn't recorded, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's just interesting, from a perspective, of a faith perspective, we're walking through a door that we would never have otherwise walked through if we hadn't been forced to walk through this door.
Absolutely.
I found a lot of, not even just churches, but not-for-profits in general, didn't have online giving or donating until Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're that far behind the curve.
Yeah. It's funny, I've always thought about this, how a lot of times the church is more reactive. We wait and then we go, oh yeah, maybe we should do something about it, instead of just being this is happening. We need to make plans right now. How are we going to affect change? And how are we going to be the hope that the world needs? And how are we going to be able to reach people that maybe nobody else is reaching? It's crazy.
Well, that's the plague of I think the issue there is, for me, is the size of church. When church gets big, and I'm talking the church of the world, as the bigger it gets, the slower it moves.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much to turn that ship to something, and then no one's going to try it until it works somewhere else successfully, and it has to be the same style of church or same style of non-for-profit that they're comparing to, right? So the excuse would be, I'm not going to do what they're doing because they have 20,000 people in their church, so I can't accomplish that.
Yeah.
And what we're finding now is all you needed was a computer, a phone.
Yeah.
And before, I understood more because you had to get a sound card, you had to get all this other equipment, and it was cumbersome. And I get it, but doesn't get you should have a Facebook page. That should be easy. You should be able to film your services pretty easily now. I mean, you can do that with phones. You don't even need big cameras anymore.
Exactly.
You can do legit with you can film anything with an iPhone. I have an iPhone 11. And it's actually better than my Canon XD.
Yeah.
I put it up yesterday. So I preached last night. I put my Canon up, and I was like, "Why am I doing this to myself?" It was so much work to get it up, and then the image quality was nowhere near my
Yeah.
iPhone. Now
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how to get I'm trying to figure out a solution to putting in a wireless lapel into my iPhone. I think I found a solution. What I'm gonna do is I got this, like I have a transporter. So you can find XLR to USB. That
Yeah.
exists. So now I want to go XLR to USB to Fireport. This is my hope. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'll try. It's a $10 investment. And if it works, then I don't have to buy another preamp, which I'm excited about, but I might have to buy I might have to buy a sound card nonetheless, but okay.
You know, man, just go old school and just don't use a microphone at all, man. Just scream at the camera. And that works for everybody, right?
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it works for politicians. It works for preachers. I mean, we're all good.
We're all good.
It worked for Jesus. He don't have no microphone.
He didn't have one, right? But he didn't have to go like everybody into their house around the world, and everyone's gonna like replay that. It is Jesus. I'm not saying that it wasn't perfect and just amazing. Yeah. What I'm saying is, no. Okay, no. That's what I'm saying. No, because go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, like. I've always lived my life as this is life is about perspective, man. You can either see this as being like an obstacle or you can look at it as being an opportunity. My mind goes straight away to opportunities. This is an opportunity. People out there are scared because they don't know what's coming. They don't know what's happening. Every day this thing is changing. We're hearing like every source of news out there right now, man, is just bombarding us with fear, death, fear, sick, fear. You know, I mean, it's out there and people don't know how to handle that. So all I'm thinking about is, man, this is a time for opportunity. This is a time to reach out to people that maybe I haven't talked to in a while. Just check in on them, see how they're doing. This is an opportunity for me to be able to share my faith with other people. This is an opportunity for the church to maybe grow and expand in terms of how we do things and how we think about church, you know? Yep. I mean, our church has been kind of, you know, we've been trying to kind of stay ahead of this and making decisions pretty rapidly and pretty quickly and making changes as we need to. But like we've set up like a private Facebook account to have daily prayer meetings, you know, like where the people of the church, the members of the church can come together and we have a prayer meeting and we do it just on Facebook Live with a camera set up. And you know, it was interesting because I find people like engaging on Facebook a lot more than they were engaging in real life. And you're thinking to yourself like, okay, this is something that we need to tap into. This is something that we have to look at from a different perspective, you know? So I don't know, man, like it's all about, do you see this as an obstacle or do you see this as an opportunity? And if you just shift your thinking and shift how you see things, man, like it could be the best time for some people, or it could be the worst time, but it's all up to you. You know, you got to make that choice.
Well, and that's the thing. I think one, like, you know, you get slapped in the hand because there's things you didn't keep up with. And then if you're like me, you're all, how do you be an innovator? What do you bring to the table now in this time of opportunity? Because unknown is the best time to try things because nobody's got any answers.
Absolutely.
No one's like, well, let's try it. And so like I've literally been, this is like the first night that I haven't done Facebook Live since it started. Yeah. I'm doing this with you right now. And which I only realized that I was doing that after you texted me. I'm like, oh yeah.
Put it in the calendar, man. That's
no. I didn't say that I didn't want to do this. I just forgot that I had this regular thing going on. And it's okay. But I just wanted to see who I was engaging and how well can I walk the line of my faith in this world?
Absolutely.
Because like I'm not called to save people again. Mm-hmm. You know, so and I like they got the message, and there's people who are good at dealing with those people all day, every day. That's fine. I totally get it. But what is the innovation that we can walk out right now? What is it? What can we do? Yeah. And in any area, look, whether it's the church, whether it's your business. I mean, how many businesses have to change? Actually, you know what? One business got creative in this, so. Obviously, you can't go to the gym right now. That's not happening. So, you know, and a lot of the big gyms are going to suffer big, like really big. But these smaller gyms that are like, you know, CrossFit gyms, whatever, like my wife's CrossFit gym just put a post up like the day before stores had to close and said, if you would like to rent anything from us. So they just rented out their whole gym, all of their equipment, just rented out. So like all the bars. So we rented a bar, we got some weights from them and just put it at our house. And then if they need to re-up, they've just infused subscription-based services.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like that. Like, where are we on that?
Opportunity, man.
And why? Because I think the thing is, we try to, which is okay. Like, you're supposed to make things better that you have. You rehash it out. How do you make this better? But if that's the only thing that you're doing is trying to make that one thing better, then you're missing it. I think, right? So, like church, we in the church sense, we get really obsessive about making the service better, like the service, Sunday morning or whatever main service, the best. And it's fine. I get it. You got to do that. It's cool. But sometimes it becomes the only focus point. How do we make this thing better? I'm like, well, how do you make all the areas better? Because, my friend put a post up, and he's a pastor in another church around here. And he's like, now he put a post like, and now churches are wishing they put more money in, now churches are understanding why they need to put budgets for the video and tech team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because nobody knows what's going on, but there's someone who's out there that understands that they need to be plugged in, and we need to be using that, and investing in that. Because look how much of us are scrambling. We're all trying to figure out, okay, so how do we do this live? How do we do this with best audio? How do we get a better image? And some people already have that figured out.
Absolutely.
So I'm just like, how do you take this time, be innovative, and creative? I've never been so creative with my kids ever. Never.
Right. How's that going, man? Listen, we got to talk about that. You got 3 boys?
3, yes.
And they're directly related to you. 100%.
They are 100%, 50% of me.
So I've known Shawn for over 20 years. I knew him as a young chappie.
He knew me when I was running the streets.
If they even have a quarter of your genes in them, this has got to be interesting times for you. How are you coping?
Well, my kids are still alive.
That's good. And you're still alive.
I don't know for how much longer with these 3, sorry, but they all have their own particular characteristics, which are absolutely intense. But I think day 3 was the toughest day because I was like, what am I going to do? First day, we just watched comics, and then it evolved. I'm like, okay, well, we can't watch comics for 2 weeks. And then I was like, okay, now it's a month. I'm like, okay, now I have to start teaching my kids. I have to become the school teacher. I legitimately am my kid's school teacher. First 2 days, rough, not fun, because I was angry. I was the snarling grizzly bear. And my sons have given me the name of Sensei Wu from the Ninjago franchise. It's a Lego deal, and I'm the old guy with all the lessons. That's me. And no one can beat me, which is good, at least. But I had to teach my kids math. I'm teaching my kids letters. I'm teaching them how to write, doing puzzles, playing games. We have a game called Equilibre, so it's learning how you take blocks. There's cards about 100 and I don't know, it's 100 puzzles or 100 obstacles, and you have all these blocks, and you've got to put them in a certain order. Yeah, and they can balance. They balance. So they can fall off, and they're not just square blocks. They're the round blocks you got to put in. You've got to see the 3D, and it's really cool to see them because that's what's changing their brain. They're actually starting to anticipate the way lines and shapes work. Which I'm like, dang, we're doing some pretty complicated natural maths right now.
Yeah,
and then we do the old school stuff. We did tackle football yesterday.
Yeah,
and
man,
it was spectacular.
Yeah.
And so we made a version of it where I'd throw the ball away and they'd all run both to get it. And then they would try to beat me. And then I wouldn't lay them out because I wasn't angry. So I did love tackles at that point, but having kids, man, changes the game. Can I tell our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So they already know because I said, can they tell? Can I tell? That was the tell. Yeah. So Brian is about to have a child. And are you guys playing the Christmas, the original, what do they call it? The last Christmas gift ever? Are you guys waiting till the baby's born, or do you already know?
No, we're finding out when that baby's born.
Are you? You're doing the last Christmas? Boy, that's too tough. I wish I did on the first one, but I wanted to know so bad. It was just eating me alive. We got to the room. I was like, no. I got to the room we don't need to know. Got in the room, she's like, do you want to know? I'm like, yes. My wife looked at me. It's like, where was the commitment on that one, Shawn? I'm like, well, we need to get. My wife is always about getting prepared and getting ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
And so she gave me the look, but she was down for it. So
there you go.
And then I was like, okay, we needed to know for the second one because we wanted to know if we had to start buying girl stuff.
Yeah.
And then the third one, I was like, I wanted, because we were like not wanting a girl, like not to say you want one sex or the other, but it was like, I was like, it'd be cool. See if we were blessed with a girl. And no, we had another boy. I'm not mad that we had another boy. Okay. Don't get me wrong here. I'm afraid to try for number 4. I would try for number 4. I'm pretty sure I could talk my wife into number 4. But the statistics tell me now that I'm going to have another boy. I'm 80% chance of having a boy.
Yeah.
And the first 3, it's not about lovey-dovey. It's about keeping them from killing themselves and putting things on fire. That is essentially what this is all about.
Right. I mean, here, like, it's interesting times we're in too, because everything is unprecedented. Like, for instance, we just had our 20-week ultrasound yesterday or the day before, and obviously I wasn't allowed in to see it. And then they're like, well, you know, can we record it? And they said, well, no, you can't record it, but you can FaceTime at the end of it, which was fine.
Why can't you record it?
Like, I don't know. I don't know what the whole deal is, but apparently you're not allowed to record it. It's kind of weird. But anyways, so we're fine with that. And I was fine with that because there's going to be a lot of people because they're shutting down next week. So there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to even get their ultrasound, right? So like they're
going back.
This. Yeah, they're dealing with all this. And then they just want to know if their baby's healthy, everything's okay. And they don't get to find out. So I was cool with it. I was like, you know what? I can't be in the room. That's fine. I can deal with that. You know, but in saying that, you know, when it came time when, you know, Melissa was allowed to FaceTime me, there was no Wi-Fi in the building, and it was like a concrete building, and there was no cell phone service or signal anyways. So I didn't even get to take part in that, which is like, you know, whatever. We found that everything was good. We're all happy with that. But here's the thing. We decided that we weren't going to find out from the beginning. I didn't want to find out. And I told my wife, I said, you can find out if you want, but you have to keep it a secret. I don't want to know. And that includes you can't go out buying boy stuff or girl stuff or this or that or whatever. I don't want to find out. I want it to be a complete surprise.
Is your house full of green stuff now?
No. It's actually, yeah. But here's the thing, man. I wasn't there to supervise her. So, like, I had this, because we agreed that we were going to find out, but then I wasn't there and there was no accountability. So she tells me that she didn't ask and she didn't find out. But, you know, who knows, man? In the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe, just maybe she saw something or maybe she knows something. But I think it's exciting, man. Like, I think it's something that we're looking forward to. And you know, when babies at the age where they can understand and converse, we'll be able to share this story about how, you know, being first-time parents, we're going through this. And, you know, like, I mean, you've been through it 3 times, man. Like, these ladies, when they're pregnant, man, they crave all sorts of stuff at all sorts of times. And with half of, like, you know, like 90% of everything closed down, it's like running around trying to find stuff and just telling her, like, I'm going to have to just, you know, find something here for you, you know?
Here's my theory. Here's my theory on the cravings, okay? It's just girls wanting to do what they've always wanted to do.
Maybe.
I'm telling you.
I'm not agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just going to play Switzerland and say maybe.
Well, say maybe, because let me hear this out. Have you never wanted to try a peanut butter jam sandwich with some kind of bacon on it, has something else on it, and then something else on it? Like, just to try it?
You never done that?
Exactly. Of course. You tried it.
Yeah.
Now, I understand, ladies. Here's the difference. See, a guy will fart in pre-marriage. He's going to fart. 100%. That's going to come out. Lady ain't going to fart pre-marriage. Now, engaged, married, you don't even know what a fart is. You know, I got in the bed the other day, my wife, God bless her, and I came into the room like a lamb to the slaughter. Had no idea what was about to happen to me. I lifted the blanket, but I actually didn't like lift it. I like rolled it up, kind of, right? Just rolled it. And then I like slid myself in because like we have our baby that normally sleeps with us because we do like co-sleeping. I know some of you parents like, you sleep with your kid. Yes, we do, because it was more dangerous for me to go up and get the kid, to bring him, to get breastfed, and then take him back. Someone was going to die. Okay, so that was the end of that one. But yeah, and then I got in, and then like I kind of moved, and then like when the sheets like that vacuum suck happens up, bro, that hit me with like altar call, like 3 hours in, Holy Ghost, smash fest. I'm on the ground. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I woke up the next morning. I was like, what? I told my wife, I said, listen, you ever fart like that again? I'm never going to say it, but I know where the paperwork can be done. Okay? I know where it can be done.
You're bad. You're bad.
But
it happens. It
does.
happens, man.
No, but no, on the real, though, like, my wife, I don't know what she craved. I don't know what she craved. But she didn't crave. She just had behavioral issues, like while she was sleeping during all of them. I took pictures because I'm not because they were extraordinary. It wasn't just like she's like she was sleeping upside down or something. I don't know. No, her legs would be in the air. Like she just didn't like none of the positions made sense. I'm like, who sleeps like that? Like who?
I don't know.
Well, only my wife when she's sleeping. So I'm like, yo, okay, this has got to stop. And whatever. So. Yeah, that was that's 1, 2, 3. Here we are. I mean, you're about to be the most tired you have ever been in your entire life, and I know people have already said it to you, but you can't explain it to anybody. It's just an experience you go through, and then you realize you don't realize. First off, you realize you're tired, but then you don't realize how tired you were until the first night that you sleep. Okay. The first night you sleep like 6 hours, not even 8, not 7, like not even, I'm going to say 5. The first time I slept 5 hours straight, I was like, this must be what cocaine is like. Like I legit, like, is that what it is? Like, I don't know. I was like, whoa, I was just so wide awake. I'm like, wow, 5 hours of consecutive sleep. Because, at the beginning you're like, okay, is my kid breathing? Are they alive? Yep. Yeah, the choking. I didn't roll on them. I didn't, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And so, I mean, I'm excited for you because a lot of it's fun, just the learning process and everything. And then like your second child, you swing a little farther the other way that you were from the first one. And then the third one, you kind of landed the same. But then you realize your third one's probably just crazy as the first two, but you're just chill.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. I'm going to hope that I'm going to be a chill parent, but
it's going to be hard for you, man. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard to be chill, especially on the first one, because you.
Yeah.
So you're like, and all you're doing is you're playing all of you take your whole life and you condense it into like all of the decisions that you made before you started making good decisions. Okay, you condense them into that 1 week of that child, and the first time they cry, all of those bad decisions are going into that cry, and you're going to see them. You're like, no, that's not happening, son. Or daughter, no. Okay, pick it up already. My wife said, Shawn, he's 2 weeks old. Just making sure we're setting the rules here.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It's okay to feel like a complete moron, by the way, during the first couple of, and useless also. Like you're a pylon for the first year.
Yeah,
you're a pylon that gets the worst. Okay, so you get the worst in the sense like. You don't get all the nice cuddly moments. You'll get 1 or 2 for sure. He or she's going to fall asleep on you. Your child, your Christmas present's going to fall asleep on you. It's going to be great. But you're normally going to be just changing diapers. Okay, yeah, that's you. And so you're going to change diapers and deal with the crying baby.
Exactly.
And you get the crying baby at the time that your wife is losing her mind. It's beautiful. It's really, really.
I can't wait. Bring it on.
For sure. I say this all with like I wouldn't change it at all because it changed me so much. Like people want this nice smooth deal, but that's not how love is built. No way.
No.
You learn love when you go into the ring, and you fight it out. You duke it out. That's how you find love. Like you don't know how to fight somebody unless you go into the arena. So you're not going to find love. You're not going to figure out love until you go into the arena. And the arena is all bets are off once you step in there, man.
No, I believe it.
It's a lot of fun. It is legitly fun. The kids are so funny. They're so funny. Like,
oh, yes. So many special moments.
We asked our kids like what like they did. I think that's going around on the internet right now. Was it you take the original response of the child and they ask them like 15 questions or whatever, and then like we ask the kids, and this is the like, what does mom wear? What would you like mom to wear? First kid, a dress, because my wife doesn't wear a dress. The last time she wore a dress was when we got married. And then my other kid is like, a fart. Perfect. This is what you would like mom to wear. He's like, yeah. And then like, you can tell how the age difference, because like my oldest is 6. Like, how old is mom? 38. Like, mom's like, that's pretty close. And then the younger one who's 4, 1 million. Reasonable.
Oh man.
Oh, and you get to, man, memories. Oh, it's a lot of fun. But at the same time, like, I think it's I'm not sure if it's what's harder is the physical or the mental that weighs on you, because it's always there. But it's fun to die to the self. The beginning's a little tough there. At least for me, it was. I guess maybe it's how selfish I was. I didn't know. And then like when you realize you can't do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it, like you have to like legit plan it.
Yeah.
Man.
Right. Which is not so good for people that don't plan stuff.
And my wife is a planner. Like she probably knew that we were going to get pregnant like on the first go. That's how that one works. Is what I'm trying to say. She's like, we're planning it on this day, and then we got pregnant.
Done.
And all the people, it's all good. Okay, so Brian, what are you involved in right now? Like, so walk me through your high school, because we met in high school. Is that when we met?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were 16. Well, how old are you now?
36.
36. All right. So you're a year younger than me.
Oh, geez.
So we met when I was 16. You would have been 15.
Yeah. But when are you born though? Like about what month?
June.
So we're like, I'm October, so we're like 6 months apart.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes, September. Okay, 4, right? June, July, August, whatever. Find a calendar, figure it out. Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. No, we met when I was 16. You probably were on your way to being 16. And we met at the youth group at the church that you were already attending, you and your family, and that I had become a part of. And so, obviously my life got changed around pretty radically when I met Jesus. And, I've been trying to do my best since that day just to serve him and to please him and to make my life count, realizing pretty young that I had one shot at this life and I was going to try to make the most of it, and it doesn't say that I've always been able to do that. I've had my ups and I've had my downs, but I like to think that I've been pretty consistent with my life, other than a couple little blips on the radar when you hit your 20s and you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing with life. And so I went to, after high school, I moved to England for a year because I wasn't actually 100% sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to kind of be in some sort of a ministry, but I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't have a clue, I just thought you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm called to be a pastor, so I'm just going to get a job, So I didn't, like back then there was no websites. The internet didn't even exist, hardly back then. So, I was just kind of trying to figure things out. So I moved to England. I had done a mission trip there and connected with the leaders and the pastors of that church. And I just, felt in my spirit that I was going to be back there, and just decided, when I graduated high school, I didn't really want to know where I was going to go or what I was going to do. So I said, I'm just going to go to England. I'm going to figure things out. And it's probably the best thing I ever did in my life, man. Like just leaving everything that I knew, everything that was steady in my life, everything that just made sense, and just picking up and going. And, it was an amazing opportunity, man. I learned so much about myself and I grew so much about myself, and I had the opportunity to travel and to minister, and I had the opportunity to do some snowboarding in Switzerland. I mean, it was probably the highlight of my life, man. And I came back home and then realized like, okay, I'm like 20 years old here. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So I ended up applying to a Bible school when I was in England. And this is like snail mail days, man. I had to like fill out an application with a pen and some paper and send that off via post mail. And so I sent that off and found out that I had been accepted. And so I basically got home. I was home for about 4 months in Ottawa, and then moved myself down to St. Catharines. Ended up going to Bible school for 2 years.
Which Bible school is that, by the way?
So that was World Impact Bible Institute back in the day.
World what, sorry?
World Impact Bible Institute. And so I was there for 2 years. And my plan was actually to go out west, man. Like I wanted to go back to my roots and get down there and find a church that I could link up with and help out and do that kind of stuff with. But I just kept feeling in my spirit that I was supposed to be back in Ottawa. And I didn't want to come back to Ottawa. There's that like whole scripture that talks about how like a prophet's not received in his hometown. And, I was not perfect by any means. And I had, done some things that I'm not proud of before I was a Christian. And certainly after I was a Christian, I was trying to figure this walk out. And I just thought in my mind, like, it would be nice if I could just get a fresh start, go somewhere where nobody knows me. I could just start over and nobody has labels for me and nobody has ideas about who I am or what I'm supposed to be. But I just couldn't fight it, man. I couldn't shake it. I tried running from it. I tried praying my way out of it, man. I even fasted. And if you know me, you know how much I love food, man. I fasted over it because I just thought like, no, I'm not hearing this right. So, talked to a couple of different people that I had trusted in my life and just tell them what I was feeling and what I was struggling with. And every single one of them said, they didn't say Ottawa was the place, but they just said, it seems to me like the Lord's leading you back to Ottawa, and it could be for a season. It could be for life, And so I said, that's fine. But if I'm going to go back to Ottawa, like I got to connect with the church that is where I'm at spiritually and kind of the same wavelength as where I'm at, what I believe and where I want to go and what I want to do. And it just so happened that I ended up, hooking up with a church here in Ottawa that was where I was at. And it was good. Just started right away, just started volunteering. And like, I showed up. It was so funny, man. Like, when you're young, you think you know everything. And then the older you get, the more you realize you don't know a thing. You don't even have a clue, And so I showed up, man. I showed up to this church and I had been meaning to meet this pastor for some time, but I was putting it off because I still couldn't believe I was back in Ottawa. And so I show up in like baggy khakis, DC shoes, some sort of like skateboarding t-shirt and a backwards hat. Like I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, yo, I'm Brian and I'm going to change your world. Just so prideful. And just like, I just finished 2 years of Bible school, man. Like
it's dangerous at that point, bro.
Exactly. Just been pumped full of faith, but like, wisdom just wasn't there,
Oh, definitely. You got knowledge and you ain't got no wisdom. That's like a sword with not knowing how to use it. You're not even a surgeon. You're gonna mash people up with that. You're like, I know how to say it and it's gonna hurt. I'm gonna clean you out. I'm gonna bring the fire down. And then you get a nice slice of humble pie that tastes the greatest ever.
Let me tell you something. I had the opportunity to preach in front of church, like the big church. I started off in kids ministry with guitar. I could never sing well, but I sang my heart out to those kids. I came with lessons and crafts. Like I did everything I ever did. I did it to the best of my ability, man. That's one thing. I just recognize that wherever I'm at, I'm just going to serve in the best capacity that I can do. So I started with the kids ministry, man. And they were loving it. Like, is Mr. Brian going to be teaching today? And like, when they found out I wasn't teaching, they'd get upset. And that made me feel good because I just wanted to do things to the best of my ability. But I had the opportunity one time to preach in front of, I like to call a big church, like the big wigs. And I had been allotted, I think it was like 15 minutes or something like that. Man, I prepared and I prayed. And I think I ended up with like 4 minutes, man. But listen, like those 4 minutes, man, it was good.
Wow, actually I thought you were going to say an hour. I was like, this guy came with the gospel hour, but he said no, 4 minutes, we're done.
4 minutes, man, up and done. Like I just right to the point. And then I realized, you know what, I gotta learn, I gotta grow in this. And so I just continued serving, man, and ended up moving into the youth pastor position and served there faithfully and built up the youth ministry. In between that kind of time, we had transitioned. The church that I was serving at was meeting kind of like in a little strip mall in a really busy part of town. And then we had acquired some land that was just on the outskirts of Orleans where nothing was, man. There was no houses, there was no businesses, there was nothing. It was just fields. And so we transitioned the church from there, built a building, got into our new building, and we were serving as a youth pastor there. And it was different because all the kids that were coming to youth group back then, a lot of them didn't make the move with us. So we had to kind of start from scratch. But back in those days, like, I'd be excited if we had like 6 kids in our youth group, man. But I'll tell you something, man, like, I poured myself into those 6 kids as if it was 6,000. It never mattered to me. We would worship the Lord, and like the whole youth group was on the worship team. And so, like, I can't tell you, man, there's so many times we met together as a youth group and not one person was like in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Like, the youth group was the youth band. And so I would just turn everybody and face towards each other, and we would just worship God as if, there was 1,000 people. And to this day, each and every one of those people that were with me then are still serving on our worship team. And I feel are better for it because they learned and they grew. And it didn't matter the numbers. It just mattered about worshiping Jesus. So it was exciting. So that's, that brought me to being youth pastor. And then I took on the role of young adults pastor. We were actually running a Bible school as well. So eventually I was doing this all as a volunteer while working at a restaurant as a server. And I was doing this without being paid, and I was just serving God. And boom, next thing you know, I get on staff.
So let's go, because church got to do that quicker. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna say it up proud. Okay, this brings us back to coronavirus, and it revealed a couple of things. The church was not ready. No. They weren't ready financially. They weren't ready technologically. They just weren't ready for this whole deal. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say it loud and proud. Church, you need to figure out your finances on the front end. Like, you tell people to save 3 months. Like, church has been telling me, save your 3 months of your salary and have that. Make sure you can give your 10% and it won't hurt you. And then I'm like, okay, but you guys don't have 3 months for all of your staff that you have stacked away? Yeah. And you want to put in a new parking lot?
Yeah, it's priorities, man. So
anyways, that's my deal. I'm not gonna go down. I'm not gonna beat up church. I love church. I'm not gonna beat up church. I'm not beat up church.
Well, we gotta talk about that. So I was on staff running at that point. I was running the youth group, young adults ministry. What else was I was volunteering in the kids ministry. We ran a Bible school that I was in charge of organizing and running. Preaching, praying, doing all that stuff, man. It was a busy time. I remember there was a season where it's like you were working 5 days a week and then you were working Sunday, but then also you had meetings like, worship practice on Monday night. You had prayer on Tuesday night. You had, midweek Bible study on Wednesday night. Thursday, you had maybe off, and then Friday was youth group night. And then Saturday or Sunday night would have been either second service or young adult service. So, man, it was just going like 24 hours a day, man. And like, I don't regret it, but I'm looking back now, I'm going like, man, like, could I have like organized that a little bit better? Could I have done that a little bit better? And we've done a good job. We made adjustments and changed, because there's 2 things. Like, one, you could have the tendency to burn out your staff, but also if you're not careful, you could have the tendency to burn out your congregational members, So I think it's a fine balance. And I think moving forward with church, I think that you're going to see a lot of churches make these changes and say, well, maybe we don't have to ask the people to come to the church 3 nights a week. Maybe there's things that we can do online together so that we can save our people time and we can save them, money. Like, you got to think the average person volunteering in a church, they're working 40 plus hours a week. They've got kids they got to feed. They got homework they got to check. They got to read stories. They got bath times they got to do. And then they're driving as fast as they can to make it to a meeting and this and that or whatever. And so it's got to be valuable. So maybe, moving forward, I think one of the good things that's happening from this is we're going to make changes, and those are the changes that we got to look at.
Oh, 100%. I think that's one of the things that I've been hearing a lot lately, just that, like, in a church context, people are way more connected than they've ever been to their church because they're doing the Zoom meetings or whatever, Zencaster meetings, whatever they're doing. And they're just meeting all the time. So they're all chatting. And what's beautiful about all of this is that Zoom doesn't allow you to talk over one another.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you talk and I talk, it gets cut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we all have to sit, wait, and then there's like a minute like not a minute there, a hypothetical second between the overlay between us. So dude, we're gonna learn to listen, bro, what the church needs to do.
Right? Can we just like bring this into real life? That would be awesome.
Well, and I think that's just gonna help people. And one, like, I think also, like, for me myself, like, obviously, like, I do preaching, right? So like I'm on the road a lot of times, and I think I'm good, but like, is my craft good? Sometimes I think so. Sometimes I used to walk in, I'm Shawn. You know who I am. I have the anointing. Step off. Don't come close to me. Shabba. Whatever. But then, like, as I started, going around different circles of churches and different denominations and different, like, places of organization, like, I was challenged. Like, I remember my first time where I saw a timer, and it was counting down. I was like, yo. And I had respect for the people that were doing, because I was like, oh, man, it seemed like they know what they're doing. And I didn't know. And I just caught a glimpse of that there were screens facing the people on stage. And, like, the guy he had, like, 15 seconds to say this announcement, 22 seconds to say that announcement. That was crazy. Then I got up and I had 34 minutes. I was like, dang. And it started counting down in gray. And then when we got the last 4 minutes, it counts down. Well, inside of the last 5 minutes, rather, it starts to count down in a different color. And then it starts counting down in green, like it's time to go. And then when you make that, when it's 34, it starts counting up in red and flashing at you. Like, get off. Right. Get off. I'm like, but I'm not done yet. Whatever. And then you go to, and then they show you yourself. And they critique you. And I never had a critique before. Now I have a critique in my form. I'm like, if I get invited to a place to speak, whether it's Christian or church or not church, whatever, I'm like, I send something out to them. I say, hey, I got tough skin. I want to get better. What could I have done better? Whatever. What did you like? These kinds of things, right? And people still give me, like, I've only had really 3 or 4 people legit tell me something that I needed to correct or get better at, which I was appreciative of. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that better. Or how do I work that better? Because I'm like, I don't know if that worked well. I didn't think it did. But they're like, oh, it was great. So I think, Yeah. But all this to say is, like, now I preach online. Like, every Wednesday I do a message. And I get to see myself. And I just realized I preach normally now 20 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, I'm 35. What's the difference? And you get to see yourself. You got to watch yourself. You see yourself. And I think preachers are going to get better.
Do you cringe?
Sometimes. Yeah. But I still try to preach like as if there's 6,000 people, because I practice a lot. I always practice my message. So I'm used to preaching to an empty room.
Yeah.
But this is the first, like, I usually still do it in a sanctuary or wherever, the biggest room I can find, so I could feel how to look across the room and stuff. Yeah. But, like, this was in my basement yesterday. The only thing that were there were the 2 lights I had lit up, and then my iPhone, which takes better pictures than my phone, my camera, which is so funny. So, yeah.
34 minutes though, 34 minutes. I'd like to know where in Scripture it says 34 minutes is the exact time that is the perfect time to preach. Not 35, not 33, 34.
Well, it's just the way they designed the day that day. That's the first day that I got up. They had designed 34 minutes. They said, here's the allotted time. But they had thought about this before. And I didn't know. So, like, if I was ignorant, which I was at that time, I'd be like, why 34 minutes? Let me have an hour. Let me have 45 minutes, But I'm like, I didn't know that they already, at this particular camp, they already opened their Bible up. Was it 6 times during the day they will open their Bible up?
Yeah.
I was just one of 6.
Yeah.
And it told me something about myself, that it's not about me.
Yeah.
As if someone gives me an hour, I'll be like, can we cut that down to 45? And I might do 34 just because, or whatever, 35. And I just really, for me, I like to reduce everything out, say I'm going to do that, work at that, and then if something comes, something comes.
Yeah.
And obviously, the people that you're with, some people, like, it's ungodly to go over 35 minutes. For other people, it's ungodly if you don't do an hour, which is the same exact problem.
Dude, I was raised in churches that would go until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you'd have to be back for the 6 o'clock service on Sunday, man. You had just enough time to eat some fried chicken and get back to church.
That didn't even make any sense to nobody.
Right? So, I don't know. Like, I'm all for it, but it's funny. Hey, listen, man, the people that, the ones that critique you and the ones that give you the advice or even the correction, those are the kind of people you got to keep in your life, man. Those are the people that help you grow. Those are the people that actually care for you and looking out for you. The ones that patty cake you all the time, man. You don't need that, No.
Well, I had a guy who was like Brian of old on first day walking into church. I am Brian, hear me roar. I had that guy. And the thing is, like, what happened is I got invited by a different youth pastor to come do this retreat. And then that during the time from when I got invited to the time that I spoke, the leadership changed. Like this guy moved on to another place, all good stuff, whatever. But so the new guy came in, which was the understudy to that guy, and he said, he was like, okay, yeah, we'll still keep Shawn because I had I have an okay name and yeah, I got good credentials and all that stuff, whatever. And so then I gave him my form, okay, to fill out afterwards. Bro, he thought he was going to change my life because he was definitely not there to make it better. I'll tell you that. This guy did not understand. Okay, so I'll give you the assignment. Was I had to do a youth retreat, but it was a youth and junior high retreat. So you have to speak language for junior highs, which is very different than from youth. It's not even close. Anybody tells you the same, they're messing up big time. It's not even in the same ballpark. Like youth are not there. Young adults are just as different as youth. Like they're not
Absolutely.
the same, right? Young adults, as I say, they want you to twist their brain up with theology and make it look old but new and cool, but not.
But vintage.
Yeah, but vintage, but brand new, new vintage rip.
Yeah.
And youth want it to be like cool, like on the cutting edge, dyed purple hair on the top of your head, like whatever, which is fine. I got no problem with that. Junior high, you literally have to be crazy and you have to be able to preach in 6 sentences. And everything has to, all your craziness has to tie into those 6 sentences. That's what you got.
Yeah.
In the kids ministry, you got 3. So, anyway, so I'm like, okay, so how am I going to do this? How am I going to reach the junior highs? Because for me, as you know, or maybe you don't know, and it's fine if you don't know, but the majority of decisions are made for Christ are at between the ages of 12 and 14. Those are the sticking ages. That is a crucial age. So I'm going to make that call at 14. That's where I make that call when you give me that group. Now I'm speaking to the oldest 14-year-old in the room, but then you got these youth and they're not even sitting together. Oh, it was just a mess. It's a mess, bud. So all this to say that this guy was not trying to critique me in a way that would make me better. So I took his paper and I took what I thought out of it, which was, I only took the things that were the same as like what other people had said, which was very slim from what this guy had. And then I burned it. I said, enough of this business. I'm not going to have that in my life. I'll tell you that right now. Anyways. Okay, so let's go back. Sorry, I went on a little tangent there. Okay, so you're telling me about your walk with your church. You went in there, you became a youth pastor, moved your church over, and then you're now having to deal with a whole new kind of congregation. Don't want to burn them out. We're worried about all of this stuff. And then I made a statement about church not being ready for this.
Yeah. Yeah, which is fine. It's a valid observation. I think a lot of churches aren't, but I also think there's a lot of churches that were. So here's the thing. I go from being the youth and young adults pastor to moving into an associate pastor role, which is, I don't know what that title really holds. Like, I was just like, man, here's the thing though. Like, the first thing I did, I'm not going to even lie. I got a briefcase and I got some business cards made that said associate pastor. Because in my mind, I had been reaching and attaining for pastor status, not recognizing that when I was shepherding the kids, I was a pastor, not realizing when I was a youth minister, I was a pastor, a young adults minister, I was a pastor. I had been a pastor the whole time, man. I was a pastor 2 years into being in our youth group, man. Like I was helping people and leading people and shepherding them and taking care of them. And so it took me a while to realize this, but in my mind, I had reached the status. I'm like, okay, now when I go to conferences, I won't be dismissed or I won't be kind of set aside like, oh, he's just the youth pastor, because it happens,
For sure. And I think it's the role of the senior pastor to regulate that quick. Because what happens a lot of times, and I'm going to say it again, senior pastors have a tendency, or people in leadership have a tendency to say, hey, look at my new toy. He's under my tutelage. This is my student. This is my pupil. This is mine. Instead of releasing them and saying, this is our youth pastor.
Yeah.
His calling or her calling is incredible one. Is an incredible one, and you got to hear what they got to say.
Yeah.
Like something like that. That would be a word of encouragement. That would set you up, bro. That would have brought Brian back with his backwards hat and his baggy khaki jeans. I'll tell you that real quick. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Mr.
So,
Osos.
yeah, man, I had no clue what I was in for. Like associate pastor. I don't, even to this day, I'm kind of like, what isn't this? Like, I'm here to support the lead pastor and to, help the lead pastor push his vision forward. I had been doing that in all the positions that I had found myself in. So I was never really concerned about that. But I moved in from I was preaching and sharing probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week. So I was in the mode of consistently, I was speaking to the young adults, I was speaking to the youth, I was leading prayer meetings, I was teaching at Bible school. And then from time to time, I was preaching on Sundays, so I'd gone from that. And then I thought like associate pastor, man, like this is it. Like I got my break here. Like I'm moving into the big leagues. And it was funny because it meant doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So I went from being in front of the people all the time to being in front of the people some of the time. And it was fine. Like I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. So I was like, doing things that I had never thought about, like in ministry. Like, when I went to Bible school, they never prepared you to become an electrician, a caretaker, a coffee maker, someone who can vacuum properly, someone who can like unplug toilets. Like they never trained you. That's the kind of stuff that ministry is built on, And so behind the scenes, making sure that the building was just, staying in good shape and making sure that people that needed phone calls were getting phone calls and hospital visits and, doing like stepping into my role as like being an officiant for weddings. And like, man, I would rather preach to a room full of 1 million people, with a Speedo on than do weddings. That's how much they made me nervous. Like, I don't know what it was about weddings, man. And even to this day, it still makes me nervous. But when I do them, I enjoy it. And I look back at them. I go, I think I did an okay job. But they make me so nervous. I don't know why. So anyways, I stepped into doing that kind of stuff, and so that was good. And there was a season, I think it was, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, I was kind of on staff then, and I don't know, it must have been about 5-6 years. I lose track of time, man, pretty easily, but it came a time where, for one reason or another, the church finances kind of took a hit. And you've been in the game long enough, like, finances go like this, man. Like, when times are good, people are, they don't mind giving and they don't mind sharing and being generous. But in times like this that we're in right now, there's people that are withholding because the future is uncertain. And so at that time, we were offsetting, paychecks and this and that or whatever. And finally the decision came that they would let me go. And I kind of knew it was coming, and I wasn't really shocked that it had come. But what I didn't realize is that for the last 7 years, 8 years, whatever I'd been on staff, I had put my full identity in the pastor role. And so when I was like let go, even though I had not been stripped of my title or my authority in the church, or even like some of my duties, the only thing that was different was I was no longer receiving a paycheck for the stuff I was doing. There was something that happened emotionally and mentally in me that just kind of snapped, where like I didn't know who I was and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was married at the time, with my wife, and I went straight from high school to England to Bible school to, basically serving in the church, and I didn't really know anything else. I didn't have a plan B, man. My plan A, I had one plan, was plan A, and it was going to be like, I'm going to minister. That's all there is to it.
Come on.
So like, here I am at home going, geez, what do I do? Like, I've got bills to pay. I've got a mortgage to pay. Like, these people, they don't understand. They don't care that I just lost my job. And on top of that, I'm in an identity crisis, and like going back to church with like my tail tucked between my legs because I'm embarrassed. And also like, I don't know who I am anymore. Like, for me, it just, something happened, man. So anyways, I started applying at every job I could apply for online, man. You think I could find a job? It was crazy. And meanwhile, like, good meaning people that just cared for me and loved me just kept telling me like, oh, just trust in God and he'll supply your need. And like, meanwhile, like my bills are stacking up and I'm like, yeah, like now would be a good time,
Yeah.
like no pressure, Lord, but now would be a good time,
Come on.
So anyways, long story short, I had worked at a restaurant before I went to the church full time, and I would just happen to be in there having a breakfast and explain the situation to an old friend of mine that was still working there. And he said, well, man, like I'll talk to the boss and see if I can get you in. And sure enough, I got my foot in the door, and they said, I can only give you like 1 or 2 shifts a week. And I was like, that's all I need. I just need my foot in the door. Like, I'm the type of guy, I need a crack and I'll build something off of that, man. Like, I just get my foot in the door and don't worry about me. I'll take care of the rest. So, I took that as an open door, and so I got on staff there, and then they gave me 1 or 2 shifts for the first little while. Picked it up right again, man. It had been years since I've served, but like picked it up right away. And I realized something, like when I left the restaurant to go to church, a lot of the stuff I was doing at church was behind the scenes and not in front of people or with people. And I had missed that aspect of being around people, like real people, just everyday people. And so it brought life to me. And so I've been there since, and I'm still working at the restaurant, but I'm back to serving at the church, man. There was a rough go. It was probably about a year, man, that I was just trying to mentally figure out, what am I doing? What am I doing with life? Who am I? I had to go back to like ground zero and build from there up, because I had lost everything. My identity was in the church, and that, so like, man, it was a rough year. It was a rough year, like financially. It was a rough year emotionally, man. It took a toll on my marriage. God bless my wife, for just sticking with me and believing in me. Man, I tell you, there's like times I found myself literally on the floor, just like in tears, just not knowing what my next step was, like, so it took me about a year. And then I just kind of one day just decided, like, I can continue to sulk over this, and I continue to be sour about this. And I can continue to just, resent the issue, or I can say, you know what, I'm going to hold my head up high. I'm going to get things right with my wife, and I'm going to get things right with my God. And I'm just going to be thankful that I have a job and it's supplying my need. And I'm going to move forward with any ministry that presents itself to me. So I just came back to the church with a vengeance, got to preaching a lot more. And it was nice because the pressure of behind the scenes wasn't on me anymore. I could just kind of step up in front of the people and be myself. And, it was kind of interesting because like, I found I became a better communicator, because during that season, when I used to preach, my identity was in that preaching, and it was in what I was doing. And now I had found my identity in Christ. I knew who I was. I knew who I belonged to, and I could just be free to just share what was on my heart. And I've really kind of stepped into my style of preaching. I stepped into just the swing of it, and being free of like trying to be this person or that person, or lining myself up to others. I was like, I'm me. This is my gift, and here I am just to use it. If you want it, if not, that's okay too. I'm okay with that, So, man, it's been good times, and things are rolling at church, and I'm behind the scenes right now. Like before I was on this call with you, my table right now has got cameras and lenses and wires, and I'm trying to figure out this online thing just like everybody else is. Luckily, we ran a TV show at our church for several years, and so I've got a little bit of a background with some of this stuff, which comes in handy right now. But like, dude, everything is changing day to day. Like, I just read right before we got on this call, I read that Facebook and Prime and Netflix and YouTube are all lowering their bit rates because the demand is so high. And dude, I wouldn't even be surprised if they start limiting who can do what very soon. And they're going to start, I bet you they're going to start with the churches. And so 100%. just when we get this thing figured out with YouTube and Facebook Live and all the good stuff that we're doing, as soon as we get that figured out, man, we're going to have to adapt again and change again, because I wouldn't be surprised if they start saying, no, you can't do your live services. You can't do this. You can't do that, and limiting people. So, I don't know, man. Or
it's going to be a pay service.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make money off of, this or that or whatever. So, man, like I was reading today, and if it's okay, I was reading today in Proverbs 21:31, and it says this: do your best to prepare for the battle, but ultimate victory comes from the Lord. And I feel like that's where we're at, man, in this state. Like, I'm doing everything I can to prepare. Like, I wash my hands 1,000 times. if I go out, I'm very cautious where I go, when I go, all that kind of stuff. I got a pregnant wife and a baby to think about. But ultimately, even though I do all those things, I understand that it's God that's going to bring the victory. And I'm going to come out on the other side of this whole situation better, stronger, filled with more wisdom, able to make decisions, at a higher capacity. My empathy and my compassion for people is growing by the day, by the minute. Like, I've checked in with people that I haven't talked to in years, bro. Years, and not trying to take advantage of the situation, but just generally caring for them and saying, how are you doing? Like, forget everything else. Like, how is your soul doing? How are you doing emotionally? How's your marriage doing? Because you know what? There's people, listen, bro, there's people that have to spend every day, all day with their spouses. And on their regular schedule, they might see each other 2-3 hours a day. Do you know what I'm saying? This is a test, man. This is a test on marriages. It's a test on parenthood. It's a test on your finances, on your wisdom. Like, I've been without work for 2 weeks, man. I'm a server. On paper, I make less than minimum wage, right? Because I get tips. So if I go on EI, the 60% of what I make on paper, bro, it's laughable. It's laughable. It hardly even covers my cell phone bill for the month, And so, like, I'm in a season of, like, where I'm just trusting God every day, Give me wisdom. Give me that wisdom. Give me the knowledge that I need to kind of come out of this, like, not by this, the fine thread, but let me come out of this victorious so that I can tell people, like, the only reason is because I had the wisdom, and that's that, It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, people don't, like, I know your situation a little more. I mean, you also, like, to make it the situation a little stickier, is at church, your boss is your father-in-law, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he's the guy who's got to say, we got to let you go.
Yeah.
And in that process, and then got to live you through that. And then now you're both almost living the same thing. Everyone's thinking of what we're going to do right now. What are you going to do when it comes to finances? What are you going to do when it comes to all the things that which we go about normal in our day, right? And my church, we had an issue. So
yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing, man. We talked about this before. You're going to grow from it, and like I said, this could be an obstacle for you, or this could be a new opportunity for you. And sometimes, from our human perspective, we can just naturally just kind of be like, well, this and this and that, blah blah. We can point fingers really easily, but this could just be the Lord's hand upon your life, saying, you know what, Shawn, I'm promoting you. I've got better things for you. I got bigger things for you, and if you keep your heart sweet in this situation, man, if you keep sweet in a sour situation, God has no choice but to promote you and bless you, and I don't want to see anybody go through what I had to go through, because, like, man, it was me. Like, my father-in-law, I couldn't imagine how much it broke his heart to have to pull me into his office with his daughter and his son-in-law and tell me that they could no longer employ me. Like, that must have wrecked him, and I can't sit here and honestly say, like, oh, I had no issue with it or him. Man, resentment was knocking at my heart's door, anger and bitterness and offense, man. Like, I had to deal with all of that stuff. And that's why it took me a year to get, like, I was attending church, but I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was there physically, but I wasn't there. That was it. I was only there physically because that was my wife's parents, and I wanted to honor her, but, like, I was, like, inside was turmoil.
Oh, that must have been even, I mean, like, that's it. That was just even more rough. Like, you couldn't really, like, see, when I was having a little issue with my church just now, like, I could talk to my wife about it because she wasn't involved in it. Like, so, like, that person counsel to, right? Yeah. I mean, you, like, that's different for you. It's like, you talk about my daddy. You're talking about what my dad does and blah, 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 right? And so that messed that way. Oh, no, my wife just helped me keep my head kind of straight in my thought pattern, what I was actually, like, because, you get emotional, you could say things that you don't even mean to say, right? Just because you're emotional and you're just throwing things up there. And I didn't want to be emotional. I wanted to say things, and I'm helping someone grow as well. Like, that's, I think, where the fault happens in church. There's this thing called grace. 100% there's a thing called grace. And what does that mean? Because if I'm not living honestly, I'm not going to, you can't build onto me. You can't build trust. You can't do anything. So I have to speak to you honestly, and I have to speak to you like a man. Like, that's what I have to do. And as much as I don't like I can handle conflict, I don't like conflict. Okay. So we had a conflict with me and my church. And I was conflicted a couple of ways. I was conflicted by grace, what I perceived as grace. I was conflicted by, well, if they don't know, they'll never know. This might be like, and that's what, like, I was being stretched as a leader. I was like, Shawn, Lord would say, Shawn, if you don't say anything, like, I put you in a position so you could say something.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, it's like how we were talking about earlier about those people who fill out my forms. They haven't. I'm only going to listen to people that have a position in my life that care about where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say something to me that's going to hurt me. Maybe like it might be difficult to not hurt. It might be difficult to hear, but will be necessary for me to go further. Like if I have a blown out knee, I still need to go to surgery. It's going to hurt. Like it's going to hurt crazy. But I won't be able to regain the speed, the agility, the thing that I was set out to do unless this is performed upon me. It won't happen. Like I won't be there. I will be I will always be doing the same thing. I will still be hurting myself the same way. And until someone comes and said, maybe. It was the first time that someone had said to me, because I remember I first would get fired up. Man, when I was young and I got fired up, whew. Whew. Man, I don't even know who it was. Like, I mean, I still get angry, but the violent man doesn't come out. And so, and just the grace of God has changed me in such a good way. And just children, they mash you up a little bit. So I'm the softest character everyone's ever met. No, I'm just a sack of potatoes that's been sitting on the fridge for 6 months. I got no backbone sometimes, but oh man, I hate myself sometimes for that. But anyways, what I'm just saying is that like we have to be honest with everybody.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way you like. I remember. So when I was first started as a missionary, I thought I was King Kong because I just developed a youth group that started from the bottom and now was here. And I left it not because I wanted to, but because the Lord was calling me. So I'm like, the anointing is strong.
Yeah.
You could smell it. You could taste the anointing when I walk in the room. Be careful. Make sure you've repented when I come because the Lord's going to tell me. That's how I was when I was walking in. Okay. And one of the because I have a board that oversees me as a missionary, and they're here locally, and they're challenging me, making sure I'm staying on track and all those things. And I remember the first month I met this guy. This guy's a businessman, and so we connect because I used to be a different type of businessman, and so we're clear, we're direct. We said we want. I used to say things clear, direct, and then I would punch you, or we would find you in the streets somehow, right? And we can't do that now. And this is also a Christian ministry. So he says to me, he's like, sits me down in his house, invites me in. It's like might have been the second or third time in his house. He's got a nice house. This guy owns like all the subways in our area. He owns like literally every student apartment building that's in the place, and all nice. Like he's doing well. Okay.
Yeah.
Sits me down, so I'm listening to him. He's got some skin in the game. And he's like, Shawn, I don't know if you're called to youth ministry. I think maybe we got an oval trying to fit into a round peg hole. I was like, okay. He's like, so I think you should go home and you think to pray about that. You need to figure that out or something because I'm not sure. I was like, this man just invited me like that. This man just said that to me. And I thought I could take offense or I could listen.
Absolutely.
So I went home, I prayed about it, and I said, okay. And I kind of got all like, you say I ain't part of the youth pastor. Okay. You say I ain't working in youth ministry. Okay. Well, check it out. I'm going to pray, and we going to believe. And then, oh, man, the Lord slapped me in my face as soon as I went to prayer. He said, So, Shawn, before we get to the situation of where you're actually called, we're going to have to fix some things in you. So you got some pride. We need to deal with that, okay? So, yeah, you're going to deal with that first. Okay, yeah. And remember, it's not about you. You're nothing. For without me, everything is impossible. Like, and then he took me back to that cliche, like the clichéest of verses of all time. Philippians 4:13. For I can do all things. And he says, Shawn, there's no period after that, huh? It's a sentence. You just cut it off. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So who's strengthening you, bud? Oh. And then he brought me to Saul, and he says, I can give you the anointing and I can take it away.
Yeah.
He says, don't become Saul. Don't think you have it still. You got, because you looked the part. But he didn't end well for him because he didn't know what he couldn't do what I asked him to do. I was like, I'm like, Lord, really? Like, why could you just say like the valleys and I'll take you to sweet pastures. It's gonna be good. He said he broke me down I don't even know. Just broke me down. And I came back to the next meeting like in groveling. I'm like, I went to prayer. and like the thing is, I didn't know him yet like this yet, but he's like a pit bull, skin, teddy bear inside.
Yeah.
And I just said, you know, man, I've been praying and I'm struggling with this thing. I'm trying to figure it out. It's so different to me. Like I don't have a leash, but I have an invisible leash. I can do whatever I want, but I got to do something. It's all different from me out here. I don't got a leader. I am my own leader. I'm not a good one. I'm not a good one to myself. I know how to take it easy on me.
Yeah.
And I can always work with, I almost did that because I remember I was going to think about doing that. And he was just like, okay. You ready for this? I'm like, huh? Like I was so messed up, man. And this was like month 2. I just moved, lost everything that I had already started to build. I had a name that was going up. Like you said, that verse, a prophet's not welcome. I was starting to get welcomed in my own hometown. So it was good. It's getting a name. I was like, and I got out there and I was just questioning everything. I'm like, what is the Lord doing out here? This is stupid. I shouldn't even be out here. I can't even speak French anyways. I still can't speak French and I work in a French church. This is stupid. Come on. But I've told myself, God is not a stupid God. He knows what he's doing. So I'm like, what do you have me in this situation for? So I got to humble you. I'm going to humble you so good. It hurts, bro. And I've said some hilarious things off the pulpit trying to speak French. Let me tell you right now. Oh, Lord have mercy. Did you know there's a story in the Bible with 3 guys with erections jumping into the fire? Did you know that? Did you know that the only thing that young people need are, in fact, erections? Did you know that the turkey and the lamb are seated on the throne? Did you know this?
No, you didn't.
Oh, man. And the thing is, I laughed a little bit because 2 of them were like sexual, but they were like not even close in the same words. Like, because I'm a poet guy, right? So I like poetry, whatever. I like artistic words. And so the first one, I was just zeroing in, and I had a translator, and I was like, you know, all that young people need. And then the Southern drawl came out. All they really need. Hallelujah. And I wanted to say is direction, but I said it in French, and I said des érections. They need erections. And like my senior pastor's wife was from Regina, and she understands the language issues. She was killing herself laughing. The African population in my church was like ready to burn me at the stake, and the white population in our church was like, okay, so what did he just say?
Huh?
What did he just say? And man, I was like, oh, I don't know. So I gotta watch out for those things. But yeah, man, that's crazy. So now you're here, you're working in church now. Well, you're not working in church, you're serving in the church though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm serving the church. I'm just trying to, you know, push the vision forward in whichever way I can. And, you know, we're working towards eventually Melissa and myself taking reins and leadership over the church and moving forward into that role.
I'll make sure I cut that out. Do other people know this is happening? Is the transition plan already in place?
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's our church knows about it, and
are they all for it?
Yeah, absolutely. They're excited.
Come on,
we're excited. You know, and so here's the thing, and like we had set a timetable, and we had set dates, and you know, set goals, and we wanted to get to certain places and achieve those goals and move forward. But here's the thing, man, life happens. You know, we find out we're pregnant, and, you know, we were supposed to be stepping into that role kind of in a full-time basis a month after our due date now. And I'm like, well, hang on a sec. Like I'm I'm not going to be like a month into being a brand new father and trying to run a church for the first time on my own. Like that's like, I know myself, and one thing's going to happen. I'm going to pick one or the other, but I'm not going to be good at doing both, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, we need to talk about this, and so we're going to, we had a good conversation about it, and we're moving forward. And now, this whole thing that's going on around us, man, like, thank God, like our church right now, where we're standing at like the time that this is being recorded, we haven't noticed any drastic changes in our finances at the church, which is great, man. Like, I think it's fantastic. Our people are awesome. They are faithful. They're for us. They're for the vision, and they persevere. And so that's amazing, we don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know what's going to happen next month. We don't know, but here's the thing that I know is like, I'm going to serve, and I'm going to take this thing one day at a time. And each day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be thankful for something. And I'm going to just ask God to give me his wisdom and lead me and my family and go for it. So, that's what we're working towards. And so like, it's weird, man, because like, I don't know how you prepare your messages, and I don't know what your process is, but like, like my process starts kind of like with a word, or like I'm reading, the Bible, and I'm reading, and then something just one little thing just pops off, and I'm like, I just think about it. I let the wheels spin a little bit. I don't know about you, but like I went back to having a journal. I carry a journal with me at all times. I've got multiple journals on the go. I've got some for my devotions. I got some for like my sermons. I got some that I have, like one that's just messy, man. I don't even keep the pages in order. Just like thoughts that I have, I just write down, and I just come back to them, all that kind of stuff. But like the moment that we had spoke about this, and the moment that we had declared it to the church, I remember this, man. I was on sound. I was serving, doing sound ministry and keeping everybody sounding really good. And I'm up in the booth, and I'm by myself, and the church is there, and they're going. And then all of a sudden, I've got my notebook, and literally, I think I'd like in the span of maybe like 10 minutes during praise and worship, when I should be focusing on like the sound issue, I literally just have series just downloaded. Like, so I get the title of the series, and then I get like anywhere from like 3 to 5 messages, like titled messages, boom, 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 boom. And I thought I'm finished, put my notebook away, grab my pen, boom, 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 boom. And I'm down to like 20 or so. I don't know how many, like, I can't tell you like the exact number, but I know it's like 20 or close to 20 like series and messages. And so it's neat because like, you step into that role, you accept it emotionally, mentally, physically, you accept it spiritually, and all of a sudden that mantle kind of falls upon you, and the provision is there. And here's the thing that I've learned is like, if I just posture myself in a position to be open and listen, like I find out that God actually has a lot to say, and he's speaking all the time. And there's a lot of people in my life like, well, how do you know? Like, when is God speaking? This and that. Like, here's the thing, bro. Like, you never shut up long enough to listen. And in my season of going from, losing what I thought was like my dream career, my dream job, and my callings, quote, quote, I just learned how to listen, and listen to what's being said and listen to what's not being said. And you'll find me, like, if we're in a big group, man, like, if we got together with all of our friends, we'd have a good time. We'd have a fun time. I'd probably be loud and obnoxious, just like I always was. But you'll see me kind of draw back, and I'll just observe and I'll listen. I just keyed in on being able to listen. And I've learned so much from just being able to like tune in and focus on what's actually being said. And so like I just learned, man, like ever since we accepted this idea of us, leading the church, I've stepped into like this place of like, man, I'm developing leadership thoughts I've never had. Like I'm devouring, podcasts on leadership and books on people and all that kind of stuff. And that's all good. Like I'm preparing myself, but at the same time, I'm stepping into the capacity of like, man, I've got empathy and compassion for people like I've never had before. And I find myself praying more for like people than just general situations, and tuning into like listening to God. And he'll just be like, hey, that Shawn Naylor guy, like maybe you should just check in on him, see how he's doing, just these little things like that, where you're just like, man, this is what it's like to live a spirit-filled life, is just walking hand in hand with the Lord and just letting him lead you and guide you and trust that everything's going to work out. And that's where I'm at in life, man. Like, I don't know when the timing is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to step in and then get paid and have a paycheck, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like I'm trusting God as my source. And when the time is right, I'll step into that. But right now, behind the scenes, we're making plans moving forward, you know? So it's an exciting time, bro. It's like, I don't know, man. I'm ecstatic and I'm happy and like, you know, I'm taking this time. Since I've been laid off, like I don't get a lot of time off. I work a lot of hours. I work long hours at my job that I do. I like my job. I enjoy being around people. I like serving people. And it's something that I wish I could do for the rest of my life. But like the body is just like, you know, bro, like you got to slow down, man. You're not young anymore. And so like I'm at the stage where when I got, you know, told that we were not going to be opening to the public anymore at the restaurant that I serve at, I was like, okay, this is a scary situation. But then in my mind, I'm like, listen, I've been through this before. I've been laid off before, you know, and God took care of me that time and he's going to take care of me this time. And now, luckily, I learned from my last experience and I built up a nest egg over the last few years. So I'm okay if this thing runs itself till Christmas. Like I'm good, you know, you know, I'm okay. But I chose to see this as an opportunity. And I wake up every morning, I grab a coffee, I sit down with my journal and my Bible, and I just say, speak, Lord. And like this stuff that's just coming alive to me is amazing. And I'll, you know, spend an hour or so reading in the Word, and then I'll put that aside. I'll put my earphones on and I'll listen to a leadership podcast or a preaching podcast. I'll put that aside. I'll jump on the Xbox just because, you know, you got to have a little bit of fun. And I'll chirp at some of these kids, you know, playing on the Modern Warfare situation. And then I'll jump back to the Word. And then I'll, you know, like I have lunch with my wife. And like, I just determined in my mind, I'm going to take this time as an opportunity to build on my marriage, to build on myself. I'm going to take this opportunity to grow. Like I could choose to just binge Netflix all day long, man. And a lot of people I know are doing that. And, you know, that's your life. You do you.
Yeah, but then you're gonna say to yourself later, like, well, what did I waste my time watching something for and not doing anything? Like, listen, I watch some TV with my kids. I'll be real with you, but I ain't trying to waste my time watching Netflix. I don't really care for that. I'm like you said, I'm like this is like I have flexibility in my job, so I have hours. I get to select the prime hours with my kids, which some people don't get that option, but I do. So. I mean, what sucks about me is like I have to leave, right? I have to leave for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days or whatever. Yeah. But when I'm home, I get to be home. But as a communicator, as a content creator, I mean, I'm always thinking, I'm always reading them or whatever. And I don't want to waste that time doing nothing. Listen, I'm going to waste enough time fishing. I don't need to waste it doing anything else. Okay. So I'm not going to do that.
Let's get one thing clear though. You never waste time when you're fishing.
No, because I'm talking to God the whole time. Let me tell you that right now.
Right?
God, I mean, where are these fish right now? Dear
Jesus
Lord.
called some fishermen to his clan, man. He's just like the part of the crew. It's like, yo, we're I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe we just hear from God a lot better than other people. But if you're a fisherman, I mean, I believe you're close to the heart of God.
Well, one of the things that we talk about a lot with like being like in a position that I'm in, like, so self-leadership, how do you lead yourself? Like, how do you lead others and lead yourself well? So one of the things I do is like, what is the best way to get away with God? Because we used to think of always like, oh, you go home and you find a dark corner in your closet and you squeeze out the sound, the noise.
Yeah.
I could see that if you're in a pastoral role, like all the time, like, man, there's lots of noise around you. There's always fires you got to put down and all of that stuff. And the phone's always ringing. I get it. But I don't have that. I got lots of YouTube. I've got lots of social media. I've got lots of videos. I got all that stuff I got to do. And so I go on the river and I want to hear God's music. I literally go start walking down the river and I say, God, let's see what you got to say.
Yeah.
And man, I didn't realize how loud a river is, even when it's moving just barely. Like, I didn't realize how loud the wind was, even at its low decibels. I didn't realize how loud an eagle could be when it's like 5 inches from your face. Didn't know that either. Okay. I've never heard a grown man scream or poop their pants at the same time. Like that happened to me. And I mean, I ran from a bear, not a good idea, but did it anyways and hit waiters, but that was that. But my point is, it's like, I remember learning that I'm like, not everyone gets led the same. Everyone's going to find their way. And there was a young man I was hanging out with, mentoring. And he's like, man, I just don't find it fun to read the Bible. So just because I'm like, well, it's because you're not in the fun circumstance. Like you're trying to read it like your parents like to read it. They sit down, they drink a coffee, and they read the Bible. That's not interesting to you. I'm like, so how do you like to connect to God? Wherever you connect best to God, that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't violate the scriptures, go there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God created the heavens and the earth. If I'm like, if you want to go out in the middle of the woods and read your Bible, and that's how you're gonna connect to God, that's where you go. And he was like, really? I'm like, you think I like to go fishing because I just like fishing? I'm like, I'd love it, but I connect because I disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's like, this kid was like, what? So he went home and told his dad, he's like, Dad, this guy's so cool, la 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 la, right? And I'm like, that's not the point I was trying to get on the kid, like, but he was like, but Dad, did you know I could do this with my faith? I could go here and listen to God. And his dad was like, just as a parent, you're like, you're gonna realize your expectation for faith is totally different. You're like, I just want my kid to be happy, to be passionate about pursuing Jesus. That's it, right? When it comes to your faith element. And so he was head over heels when he found out that he's like, Shawn, he came over, he's like, Shawn. I thought I was getting in trouble. Like the parents walk up to you because you're responsible somehow for their child's rearing. And he's like, I want to thank you. I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, did I preach a message a while ago? I don't know. Like, I was so clueless. Like, as I said things, I was so connected in that I said something I didn't really take in. I was like, go where you connect with God. I'm like, that's where you connect. That's where you connect. If it's in mathematics, it's in mathematics. If it's in science, it's in science. If it's in finance, it's in finance or whatever. I don't care. Where do you find him?
Yeah.
And so they were super stoked about that. And I was stoked. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like, dang, I got another fisherman. Got another one. Woo! But you asked me a question, and I was gonna laugh at you because you've said a couple of things, and you're about to go into this whole new, you got two new levels approaching you. Leadership of a church.
Yep.
They're gonna take care of you. Let's be real. I'll declare that right now in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. It's gonna happen. Number two, you're gonna have a new Christmas gift in your house, and judging by the person that you are, you're going to be all in, and you're going to be up over your shoulders. That's how you are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and that means with your father, with your fatherhoodness, being a father, with your marriage, with your church. And if I could tell you anything, slow up the church, and you just have to be way more effective, way more efficient. And you're going to realize how much time you had. I would love to tell you I have 4 hours to read my Bible, but it would have to be between 3 and 4 in the morning. But then I would be a terrible dad. And then it would just cascade all these other ways. No. So, and you want to have those inspirational moments, but they don't get conjured up. They don't come the same way. I found for me, the best way for me now was I actually have a writing system. Here, maybe I'm going to try this. I'm going to try and share with you what I do. Okay. I'll pull up my screen here. I'm going to pull up this other part. Okay. And it's morphing all the time. Okay, let me just share this with you. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen with you. Okay, you ready? Because I have the pro version, so I can do that now.
Ooh, you're so fancy.
Hey, well, it's a church expense, so it's a ministry expense now. Okay, so I just have to see the share button. Okay, there you go. Okay, the share button is there. Okay, share screen. Okay, here, this is what I want to show you. Share this. Okay, you see that?
Yeah.
So this is my teaching method. So it's got some things I might delete sometimes or keep. So my mind map happens right here under my main verses and mine. That's where all that happens. Series, if I'm on a series, the title of the message, and then my main point. That is all I'm preaching to. I'd make that all day, and it comes all the way through. And so then I'll ask myself my 3 questions. I will teach those 3 points, and then the rest just happens. And I have to go intro, conclusion, middle.
Mm-hmm.
I can write a message top to bottom in 4 hours with illustrations. I can write one.
Yeah.
And that will be, and I'd say only this because you're already prepared. The way you go about your Bible study, the way you go about being in the Word, being around, leading, listening to leadership, those things. If you keep yourself inspired, these things just fall out of you.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing that I say. Now you have to be more diligent in your pursuit of listening. So if you only have a 15-minute window to read, well, then you push that 15 minutes and you read that 15 minutes. There's nothing else you do there. And you make sure that you're reading or whatever. So I don't know. This is probably my favorite, outside of Ravi Zacharias, this is my favorite theologian right here.
Oswald Chambers. Yes.
This is his completed works. My wife got it for me. This guy is so legit that you can open up the book anywhere, put your finger down, and it's going to blow your mind.
Dude, I love it.
Like okay. I'm gonna end up this. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording. Hey, Brian, we're gonna have to go to part 2 of this because we're gonna hear what happens when you make that transition from being the server with no kid to leading a church with your wife and a child. Hold on a minute. You are crazy. Brian, thank you so much for being with us. And you'll have to wait for part 2 because it's pretty cool. Anyway.